bet you won't be able to find another booktuber anywhere with these 3 books as their favorites of 2022. Check it out. Alright guys, Patrick here with 52 books. 3 books that I loved in 2022. Let's get right into it. The first one is Lies of Loch Lamora. Now, I said that you won't find any other booktubers that have these 3 books as their favorites, but I think you'll probably find a bunch of booktubers with Lies of Loch Lamora on their top 10 lists or whatever. It's pretty popular. What it is a fantasy. It's basically a redo of the old Fritz Leiber stories of Fafhrd and Grey Mouser. It's about this this orphan kid that winds up being taken in by a thieves guild, sorta, and trained to be this super thief spy guy, and all the capers and shenanigans that he gets up to. There are more books in the series, and I've heard that they're going to be even more than that. The second and third book of the series are not nearly as good as the first one, but the first one is titled Lies of Loch Lamora. All right, the second book is Dixie by Curtis Wilkie. I seriously don't think that you'll find another booktuber that's even heard of this book. What it is a non-fiction account of the civil rights era in Mississippi, told from the perspective of a journalist that was living and working here during the time. And Curtis Wilkie wound up being a sort of like a state treasurer. He's, I think, a writer in residence at Ole Miss, or he was. But anyway, it's interesting to see the stories of the civil rights turmoil told from the perspective of a journalist, a professional journalist, instead of from the perspective of a movie director, producer, fantasy writer, because it just seems more factual. Another thing that really turned me on about the book Dixie is he switches perspectives between, for the most part, Ole Miss University, where a lot of this came to a head sometime around 1965, and little tiny Summit, Mississippi, which is basically a little nowhere town with a few hundred people in it, but it happens to be approximately where I'm from. So it's neat to see in Curtis Wilkie's book Dixie how the civil rights turmoil was happening at Ole Miss in this chapter, and then in the next chapter he'll be at Main Street, Summit, Mississippi. So my second book is Dixie by Curtis Wilkie. The third one is Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey. This one is far more popular than Dixie, but I think it has diminished in popularity over the last few years. It is Desert Solitaire was written by a fellow who was a park ranger, a seasonal park ranger at Arches National Park in the 1950s, and he rails in this book about modernization of the park system, adding roads, parking lots, that sort of thing. And one of the things that is neat about Desert Solitaire is when he describes something that he doesn't like about what the Park Service is doing, he sort of makes predictions, like if you put in these roads, then more people will come, and then you'll have to have parking lots, and then you'll have erosion problems, and then that will cause this, and this will cause that. And he details these long chains of events that are predictable from changing the national park environments like they were planning to do. And what do you know? It was like he's a prophet. All these things that he predicted came to pass, to the point that Grand Canyon has 3 or 4 million visitors per year, and I don't know about Arches, but Yellowstone has millions of people visiting. So it's basically a book about how it's not possible to create infrastructure in a park to accommodate that number of people without damaging the park. So that was my favorite 3 books that I read in 2022: Desert Solitaire, Dixie, and Lies of Loch Lamora. But wait, there's more. I said that I was going to do this booktube noob thing where they've got a list of questions for me and I answer them, 1 question per video. So today's question is, what do I think is fun and unique that I can bring to booktube with my new channel? Well, I'm sort of old school, so I really love classic science fiction and fantasy, like Heinlein or Lovecraft or Robert E. Howard or Fritz Leiber. So these are authors that are sometimes maybe neglected or not as popular on booktube. So I can bring you a perspective from back in the day. Now, I'm not as much of a fanboy as some folks for like George R.R. Martin and Robert Jordan and the new guys like Brian Sanderson. I'm sure they're masterful, but their works just haven't turned me on. So number 1, I'm old school. Number 2, in addition to science fiction and fantasy, which is very popular on booktube, I also like to read like literary fiction, like Pulitzers. I'm working my way through the list of Pulitzer fiction award winners slowly, and reading my way through those. I also like to read nonfiction and poetry, so I would say that what's fun and unique that I will bring to booktube is some diversity in the subject matter in the books that we read, and some balance, right? All right, this is the obligatory begging for likes and subscribes and ring the bell so that they'll notify you. All right, you know the drill. If you like and subscribe, they'll send more eyeballs my way. So go to it.